Hey there! Let's chat about something that's been hitting us all where it hurts our wallets. You've probably noticed your energy bills soaring sky high recently. It's a real pain, isn't it? Now, there's a lot of talk blaming renewable energy for these price hikes. But is that really the case? Today we're going to dive into what's actually causing these spikes in your energy bills. It might not be what you think. It's easy to point fingers at the new guys on the block, like solar and wind power, especially when we're feeling the pinch. But let's pause and think for a moment. The energy world is complex, and there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. We're going to take a closer look at how energy prices are really set and what factors are playing a bigger role than you might have been led to believe. It's time to separate fact from fiction. First up, let's get our heads around how energy markets work. Think of it like a giant marketplace where electricity is bought and sold. Now, the price of electricity in this market isn't just pulled out of thin air. It's influenced by a bunch of factors, including the cost of generating power. And here's where it gets interesting. You see, for years, we've relied heavily on coal and gas to generate our electricity. These are resources that Australia has in abundance, but their prices aren't as steady as you might think. In fact, coal and gas prices can be quite volatile, bouncing up and down like a kangaroo on a trampoline. And why is that? Well, it's because these prices are often tied to international markets. When there's a surge in demand or a drop in supply somewhere else in the world, it can send our prices soaring too. And let's not forget, when geopolitical tensions rise, like disputes between big oil and gas producing countries, it can also cause a ripple effect that hits us here at home. Now, here's where renewables come into the picture. Technologies like solar and wind power don't depend on these unpredictable global markets. The sun and wind are free sources of energy. They don't send you a bill. And as more Australians have been installing solar panels and wind farms have been popping up, the cost of generating renewable energy has actually been falling. Quite the opposite of what's happening in the fossil fuel world. So we've established that global markets can play havoc with our energy prices, right? But let's zoom in a bit on fossil fuels themselves, coal and gas. These have been the backbone of our energy for years, but they're not without their own problems. For one, extracting and transporting these fuels isn't cheap, and those costs can fluctuate wildly. Whether it's due to changes in extraction technology, regulations, or even natural disasters impacting mining areas, the price of getting coal and gas out of the ground and to the power plants can vary a lot. And guess who ends up footing the bill? Yep, that's us, the consumers. Additionally, let's not ignore the environmental costs. The burning of fossil fuels is a major contributor to carbon emissions, which leads to climate change. This isn't just an abstract global issue. It has real consequences right here at home, from droughts affecting our farms to extreme weather battering our coasts. And these environmental impacts have their own economic costs, which can indirectly affect energy prices too. It's all interconnected. Now, let's tackle a big concern: the reliability of renewables. There's a common worry that if we rely too much on solar and wind, our grid will become unstable. What happens when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow, you might ask? It's a fair question, but here's the thing. Energy systems are evolving to handle this. Modern grids are getting smarter and more capable of balancing different energy sources. Battery storage technology is advancing rapidly, allowing us to store wind and solar energy for use when needed. And it's not just batteries. Other forms of energy storage like pumped hydro are also on the rise. Plus, the grid isn't just about one source of power, it's about having a mix. By combining renewables with other forms of energy generation, including more flexible and quick-start energy solutions like gas peaker plants, we can keep the lights on reliably. Countries around the world are proving that high renewable energy penetration is possible without sacrificing grid reliability. Places like Denmark and Germany have shown that with the right infrastructure and management, a renewable-heavy grid can be just as stable as traditional systems. So, the idea that renewables are to blame for an unstable grid doesn't really hold water. So, what's really driving up our energy prices? It's a mix of factors like global demand spikes, supply chain disruptions, and yes, geopolitical tensions that have nothing to do with renewable energy. These are the real heavy hitters in the energy pricing game. Investing in renewables can actually help insulate us from these global shocks by giving us more control over our energy sources. It's about creating a more stable and sustainable energy future for all of us. In summary, while it's tempting to point fingers at renewable energy for the hike in your energy bills, the reality is much broader. It involves complex global dynamics and the inherent instability of fossil fuel markets. Remember, transitioning to renewables is not just about reducing emissions. It's also about moving towards a more stable and cost-effective energy future. So next time you hear someone blaming renewable energy for high prices, you'll know there's more to the story. So, there you have it. It's more than just what meets the eye. Keep questioning, keep learning, and don't forget to pass this on. Take care and see you in the next video.